As compassionate as those words sounded, RoboCop could switch up so fast he'd leave you as dizzy as a kid coming off a tilt-a-whirl. Officer RoboCop took his jab. The statute of limitations, he said cryptically, was 5 years. They knew Juanito possessed a gun during that time, and guess what? The cops had the gun. And it's got your name all over it, RoboCop said. Mine, unfortunately. Hey, so they knew about that fucking gun Juanito sold to Mo. Jesus Christ. RoboCop leaned in for the assault. To be perfectly honest with you, the day Mikeel was killed on August 15th, your gang life ended, man. Your life with the organization ended, okay? The people that you once thought were your friends are not your friends, okay? You know it yourself. Lobo's been shot. There's a civil war going on right now with the NF. You've got a bunch of state charges coming down on some key players in the NF and the NR right now. Rico's in jail, okay? Fish is in jail, okay? Philip Gutierrez is in jail. Spookio's in jail. They're done. Those guys are done. And I'll be honest with you. The NF and the NR, particularly in Salinas, in the Salinas regiment, is crumbling down around you. And frankly, I don't think you need to go down with them. Juanito only mumbled something unintelligible. Something I want you to listen to, okay? RoboCop said as a tape machine whirred to life. Okay, Juanito, what are you gonna say? A familiar voice asked. Here's what we want you to do. Holy shit. It was that meetup in Gonzo with Mo after Mikeel was killed. If you get questioned, we want you to tell whoever questioned you that Mikeel asked you for a ride. You picked him up. This was unreal. Juanito was so fucking busted. The recording was word for word, the same line of shit he just tried to put over on these cops. You dropped him off at the bar, the Harmony. Okay, his own voice agreed. Where'd you get that? Juanito demanded. We've been following you, RoboCop said. Following? Is that you? How'd you do that? How'd you get that? Is that you? RoboCop repeated. Yeah, Juanito said, that's me. Everything changed for you on August 15th, 1998. When Mikeel got killed, and you were there, RoboCop said. Everything. You don't have friends, Juanito. It went downhill from there. RoboCop told him he wouldn't be going to jail tonight. And then the cop named Russ tried to make this change-up sound all cool. They wanted to take him into federal custody, where you're not going to have to worry about these guys until we sort all this stuff out, Russ said. No, Juanito said. It could not go that way, no. It wouldn't look right. It's not going to look right, RoboCop agreed, his demeanor firm now. It doesn't look right from August 15th, when this happened, and it was unexpected that you were put in the middle of it. It didn't look right to them that night. They were very worried. Why do you think these guys were telling you what to say? Because you can bring them down. A million words fought to escape Juanito's mouth. Why the feds? Was he supposed to testify? His family, what was going to happen to them? Well, that's something you have to work on. We have to work on, RoboCop said. We do it as a team. It's very unfortunate that you got called by Mikeel that night and had to give him a ride. This officer RoboCop wanted to sound like Juanito's best friend, like he actually felt bad for him, even as he pushed him to walk away from everyone and everything he'd known, as if stepping over this cliff was as easy as brushing your teeth. No, he was not going to testify. The cops mentioned something about trying to help him if he helped them. How they do what they could about the arrangements. What do you mean arrangements? I don't get that. Just depends on how it goes, Russ said. It's not like we're gonna protect you. It's a tactical thing, RoboCop explained. Why do you think all these guys got arrested this week? Why do you think there's nobody left on the streets running stuff, except for Lobo? He's sitting in the hospital. They repeated their promise to protect Juanito's life and his family. Or was it a promise? How did they word it? We'll do what we can. Just when they were sounding like friends, they threw out the reminder that they had him selling that gun and a silencer to Mo. He wasn't sure whether they knew the rest, how he'd offer to buy grenades and even a rocket launcher for Lobo, or that he wasn't going to charge for the rocket launcher because, after all, they were in the cause together. They told him they knew about this meeting with Lobo and Mo at Northridge Mall when Mo brought the leather jacket for Lobo and the gun was discussed and the three of them agreed to kill that dude named Chewy, although they never did the hit because Chewy got picked up by the cops. How the fuck did they know all this? He tentatively asked about Mo, but the cops shut him down and seemed to relish bringing him back to his own hopeless situation. The first two cops returned, the ones called Miller and Groves. RoboCop and Russ stood and left. It appeared RoboCop and Russ were the gang cops, and the two who again took the now warm seats in Denny's were detectives or homicide or something. So let's start from the beginning, the one called Groves said. When you went down to pick up Mikhail, what was he telling you? He didn't tell me nothing. If the cops were getting exasperated, they didn't show it. Miller answered for him. He was worried, he was scared. They played another tape, and it was the phone call when Güerito told Mo he was a true soldado and the familia had nothing to worry about. Damn, what else did they have up their sleeves? If things go down the way that they're going down here today, you're never gonna go back to the county, Miller said. Do you understand? It's gonna be a federal facility where there aren't NF. No NF, that was some joke. The familia was everywhere. Güerito asked how long he'd be in for, but all they said was one thing at a time. The gun charge is federal, you know, but the feds want something and you can help. They want the details of the homicide, Miller said. Why would the FBI care about a Salinas murder? Güerito was confused about Mo's role in all this, and he said so. When he wouldn't drop the subject, Miller finally said, well, yeah, Mo was wired like a freaking Christmas tree. Wired like a freaking Christmas tree, that explained the tapes. If Mo was working with him, Güerito wondered aloud, why didn't the cops just get the whole story from him? Tell us who was there, Groves said, ignoring the question. The simple stuff, like who the shooter was. I couldn't tell. He had a hood on, Güerito said. They weren't buying it. They had more tapes they weren't. Police records, fingerprints, half-smoked cigarettes. Half-smoked cigarettes, Güerito repeated, trance-like. They had his ass under a jackhammer and he knew it. All he could hope for now was a break on the 10 years of Fed time he was going to get for the gun. Maybe some help for his family. Would these cops keep their word? Would they really keep all this under wraps if he helped them? He told them he wouldn't testify ever, and they gave him that one thing at a time line. They said they brought his belongings over from the jail because he knew from the get-go he wasn't going back. It was shocking how your life could be flipped on its head in a single day. He had so many things to worry about. What about his family? What would they think of him? What would they say if the FBI showed up and told them they had an hour to pack and move? And would these cops even keep their word on that? One step at a time, Groves said, as if sensing Güerito's disintegration. Let's start from the beginning, as to what you saw when you got into the carport. Oh Jesus, they were never going to let up. I didn't see nothing. I just seen somebody walk up and that was it. And who was it? Of course they knew. His will exhausted, Güerito surrendered. He would forever deny he saw a gun or saw Mikhail fall. And he would continually say, who could tell where the shots came from? Later, he'd say it must have been a dream. He had remembered a dream that night. He told Mo that the shooter had walked a few steps, then returned and shot Mikhail one last time, uttering, you can't help him now, like Pacino in some gangster flick. Yes, it must have been a dream, because after hearing the shots and seeing Mikhail die, he couldn't tell anymore what was a dream and what was real. He could deny many things, but here with these streetwise cops, he could no longer deny he knew the man who stood in the dark garage when two shots entered Mikhail's brain and stopped all thoughts from flowing and blood from pumping and the soul from existing. And who was it, his executioners asked? Was this how it felt to face the gladiators in some ancient arena? To know you have no choice but to assist in your own extermination? He was so tired and he could not deny it, and he didn't try. Though speaking the name meant he was a dead man, every bit as dead as Mikhail. It was Rico. The day after Shorty was hit, Mo's work for the FBI was terminated due to attempted violent acts by the subjects of the investigation, the agency reported. How they came to define shooting two people as an attempted violent act was a question no one addressed. But with the help of contacts at the HUD office, the FBI made sure Mo, his girlfriend, and his mom were immediately relocated to another city. Thanks to Mo's admirable performance, the parole board at last agreed to cut him loose less than 3 weeks after the op was shut down. Getting all his charges dismissed looked longer. He had an old failure to appear warrant in Santa Clara County that could land him in the can at any time. But here he caught a break. Assistant DA Kitty Castanedas and her prosecutor husband had just convicted 11 NF members after a 3-year San Jose murder spree. 3 were sentenced to death. Castanedas had no sympathy for this murderous gang, and she wrote a personal letter to Agent Alvarez informing him that her county had dismissed Mo's case in the interest of justice. The wire operation was shut down, leaving Mueller's team without an informant. Mo was at last moved to his secret location. He was safe for the moment, but soon Rico and all the others would learn what he'd done to them. In their view, what he'd done was unforgivable, but it would only get worse. It turned out Mo had to traverse yet another circle of hell.